Hey, what's up, you guys? This is the video that I was talking about in my last video that I was going to be making the same day that I, made the last one. So, sorry, again, that's my computer. This is going to be a theory/discussion video on Rwby, and it's going to be specifically talking about the four maidens, and also Rwby's silver eyes, and the fact that I believe that Rwby will become a maiden. Whether or not she loses one of her eyes or whatever remains to be seen. I don't really. At this point, I'm kind of ready for that to happen. Maybe not. Maybe, I don't know, because there's evidence to support that might happen. But I'm rambling now. So this is what we're going to talk about here. So in the beginning of, I believe, season 3, right? They had introduced the concept of the four maidens, and we learn that all four of them have tremendous magical power, and each of them can control all of the elements. Now, at first, it seemed like only one maiden could control one specific element, but that's not the case. All of the maidens can control seemingly pretty much any element that exists, because Raven was able to control lightning. Lightning and wind, I believe. And I think she might have used fire at some point. Cinder was the one mostly spamming fire. But Raven used lightning. And, recently we saw in Volume 6 that Cinder... that Cinder started using wind to fly and all that other kind of stuff. So, they're basically... Each of them are like the Avatar, basically. And I'm basically gonna put forward the theory here that at some point we're gonna meet who the other maidens are. Right now we know for a fact that they exist. They're somewhere, we just don't know where they are. Now, I'm gonna go down the list of the maidens that we know first, and then I'm gonna start theorizing about where the other two maidens are, who they might be, and how they ultimately will end up dying in order for one of the main girls to become the respective maiden that I believe that they're going to be. So, two of the maidens that we know of right now are two important antagonistic characters. One of which I believe is going to have a redemption arc before she dies. And the first is Cinder, the Fall Maiden, who not only didn't rightfully become a maiden because, she stole the power and then She stole half of the power and then killed the previous maiden in order to get the power. So regardless of whether Amber was thinking about Cinder in the end, regardless, she was going to get the power anyway. If Amber ended up dying, if Pyrrha didn't end up getting the other half of the power. So that sucked there for Amber. And then then she got fucked up by Rwby. And I still believe that Rwby's silver eyes in some way are special, because even though she used the Grim Beetle to steal Amber's powers, it was never shown that the beetle had affected her eye at all. And so what I'm thinking ended up happening was that Rwby flipped out, her eyes flashed, it froze the dragon, and then whatever part of Cinder's body, had the Grim inside of her or whatever, got burned, got incinerated, she got fucked up, and then Rwby attacked her and slashed her eye out, and then possibly, cut her arm off, possibly, and that's how she ended up getting the Grim arm. And so now, Cinder is on a absolute 100% atom level vendetta against Rwby. Let's just get that clear right now. And after Volume 6, Episode 12, spoiler alert, when Adam dies, when Blake and Adam team up and they kill him, that for me kind of signals that at some point, each member of Team Rwby is going to get blood on their hands. Both Yang and Blake have blood on their hands now. Flat out. They shanked him. They killed him. I honestly want to believe that he's not dead, and then he'll come back and just somehow get turned into some grimified monster or something like that. But there's no evidence to support that right now. That's just me being salty that Adam is dead. I'm really, really upset that they did that. That was a really dumb decision, but we're not going to talk about that here. So, back to Cinder. So, she has been ordered by Salem not to kill Rwby. However, she's going to try to get Neo to do it. Now, I don't think that's going to go down exactly the way that Cinder wants that to go down, let's be perfectly honest. But I do believe at some point, the two of them are going to get into another fight. And Rwby is probably going to lose unless she activates her eyes, but then something's going to happen and then she might lose an eye. Like, Cinder might do the whole eye for an eye thing and might slash out one of Ruby's eyes or something. But, you know, or she might sit up there and say, well, you know, Salem said not to kill you, but she didn't say anything about hurting you. So, you know, she might mutilate Rwby and take one of her eyes. But, all of that aside, Rwby has to be the one to finish off Cinder. You can say it has to be Jean, I don't care. Rwby and Cinder have had a longer running antagonistic relationship than Jean and Cinder have. Because, yes, Cinder killed Pyrrha, but Rwby, like, Cinder was one of the first big antagonists that Rwby had ever faced in the entire show. Remember, in the first episode, she started chasing after Torchwick. Torchwick only got away because Cinder got in the way, because Cinder was there. And then Rwby had caught Cinder trying to break into the Beacon computers in the Dance Dance Infiltration episode in Volume 2? Yeah, Volume 2. It was Dance Dance Infiltration Volume... it was Volume 2. I can't remember exactly which episode it was, but it was the dance. I remember that. So, then, you know, Rwby fucks Cinder up, leaves her mute for six months or so, and then now she's one of the reasons why she couldn't get the relic. And so now she knows that Cinder, she knows that she can't go back to Salem until she comes back with Rwby. That's the only way she can redeem herself. However, she doesn't want to come back with Rwby. She wants Rwby dead. So, you know, I don't really know exactly how that's going to go. But at the end of the day, though, excuse me, sorry. At the end of the day, Cinder has to die by Ruby's hand. Now, it could be a team-up effort. Jean and Rwby could team up to kill her. Hell, Rwby, Weiss, Jean, and anybody else that Cinder has ever wronged, because, you know, Cinder javelined Weiss through the side. But they could all team up on her, and as long as Rwby gets the final blow, this is where my part of the theory comes into play. The way that the Maiden powers are transferred is that you have to think about the last person, like, the last person you are thinking of is who the power goes to, and the power can only go to another young woman, another maiden, if we're going with the technical term here. So you die, and in your final moments, whoever you thought of last, like, oh, my sister, I can't be without my sister or whatever, your powers go to your sister. So in Rwby and Cinder's case, Cinder is obsessed with Rwby. She wants her dead for whatever reason. Well, we know the reason she wants her dead for the most part. But she wants her dead, like, really bad. And so if Rwby ends up killing her, she's gonna be like, I can't believe that you, Rwby, ended up killing me. Why? Why did this end up happening? How did I end up losing to you, a child, Rwby? And then Cinder will die, and then from that moment, Rwby will get the Maiden powers, and she will be the Fall Maiden. There we go. You can call that bad writing, you can call that fan-fictioning, you can call that headcanon, you can call it whatever. But if you break it down the way that I just said, it makes a lot of sense. So, there's how Rwby would end up getting her Maiden powers. And like I said, and for those of you who say that Rwby would be overpowered, considering the fact that Salem is fucking immortal and has more than 4 times the amount of magic that Rwby herself would have, it doesn't considerably so she's not overpowered. Like, she would literally be the only one capable of really stopping Salem, because she would have the added power boost of magic, her speed semblance, and the fact that she would have silver eyes. So all 3 of those things would make her the most powerful maiden and the most likely one to be able to stop Salem. Maybe not kill her, but stop her. Because remember, the eyes can freeze and petrify. So that's it on Rwby. So now we move on to the Spring Maiden. Who's the Spring Maiden right now? Raven. Where's Raven? With Tai Yang. Now, given the fact that Yang basically told her mother off and made her cry at the end of Volume 5, honestly, personally to me, that was just a sign of, okay, Raven's gonna go on a redemption arc. She's gonna go probably meet with her husband. Like, at the very end of the volume, when, the portal opened up and the feather fell down and Tai looked up, I was like, okay, they're gonna have some kind of interaction. Something's gonna go on here. And, they might get to patching things up. Patching things up. Because he lives in Patch. I'll stop. But, so, given the fact that Raven is probably gonna, at some point, come in to possibly save Yang from something or someone, I don't exactly know what, considering that Adam's dead now. She can't have a fight with Adam unless Adam's not dead. But, I don't know. So maybe she comes in to save her from Neo again? That's a possibility. I mean, that would be poetic. The first time she ever saved her, which was technically, according to Raven, that was the first and last time she was ever going to save her daughter. So it would be poetic and ironic that if, the second time she would willingly come to save her daughter would also be the last time, because she would probably... I'm not saying that Neo would kill Raven, because Raven would body the shit out of Neo if she tried to. I mean, Neo literally ran away from her the last time. Now, what I'm thinking here, now, if Raven and Cinder end up having a rematch, and then Raven loses, then that would give Yang a reason to hate Cinder, but then before Raven dies, I personally think that she would think of her daughter, like, come on now, like, you gotta give Raven some credit. She cares about Yang. She wants Yang to be there by her side, but she feels kind of hurt that Yang feels the way that she does, and basically chooses everyone else like Ozpin and Tai Yang over her. But it's like, you kind of like, you did it to yourself, but in a way we don't really know exactly why, what were the circumstances and all that kind of stuff. So I'm waiting to get, explanation on that. We need a Team Stark flashback for that. I'm waiting to get that. So then what else? Let's see. So yeah. When Raven dies, because like I said, I do not think that Raven is going to make it to the end of this. I thought that Adam was going to make it to the end of the series. He was going to be like a final boss for Blake. I thought that Yang and Blake were going to take him on here in Argus. He was going to lose, and then he was going to get captured, and then they were going to, Tyrion and Watts would break him out or something, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen unless, he somehow survived getting double stabbed through the chest. I'm pretty sure he got stabbed through the heart and the lungs. So, and then, when he fell, probably broke his back on that. But that's besides the point. Point is, I don't think that Raven's going to make it to the end. I don't think she's ever going to see Salem to fight Salem. So I feel like it would be poetic, because Raven and Yang literally look exactly alike. Like, Raven... You give Yang her red eyes, and then and if you gave her black hair, she would literally look like Raven's twin sister. So, that being said, it would be poetic that if Yang ended up getting the Summer Maiden powers, then by the end, it would be like Raven would be there fighting against Salem. And the same thing goes for Rwby. I'm pretty sure that Summer Rose went to go fight Salem, thinking that, her silver eyes and her skills as a huntress were good enough, and that she could at least try to go stop Salem, and she failed, and, she died. And so it would be poetic that if Rwby came back, and she has her silver eyes, or eye, and she has the powers of a maiden, and she comes back and, avenges her mother by defeating Salem. So then there's that. Now, this brings us into the last two maidens, Winter and Summer. Now, if you look at the maiden's tail, and you see the first maiden that shows up is the Winter Maiden, if you look at her, she very clearly looks like a Schnee. Let's just keep it real. If you look at every single one of the Schnee women, Weiss, Winter, and her mother, Willow, that's just the fandom name for her. That's what I call her, because it sounds nice. They all have the same aesthetic as the Winter Maiden. So, It is very, and now the other thing is that we don't know if Weiss's mother has any sisters or brothers, if there are any other heirs to the Sneed family name, you know, besides her. We don't know who Jacques has on his side of the family, or anything like that. So, you know, because I'm pretty sure Weiss has cousins. I'm pretty sure she has other family besides her sister and her little shit of a brother. You know, so it's like, you know, I'm pretty sure that, you know, someone in the Sneed family who has this massively overpowered semblance that's hereditary is the Winter Maiden. Now I don't think that they're gonna go through the trouble of just randomly introducing some brand new character that's gonna be and that's gonna end up being the Maiden. I don't think that. What I think, it's one of two things. One, it's Weiss's mom, and Jacques, he doesn't know this, and you know, her mother doesn't really necessarily know this either, but you know, she just thinks that she has the power, but she doesn't necessarily know that she does have it because she's, you know, a drunken recluse and stuff like that. That one is a little more hard to prove and you know, hard to say, considering we've never really seen her on screen. Like, we've only seen pictures of her and we've only heard of things about her from Weiss. So that one's less likely. What I think is more likely is that it's Winter herself, Winter Sneed. Why do I think that? Because Ironwood has specifically said that, you know, even when Jacques brought it up, he said that you don't trust anyone but yourself, and Jacques said for good reason. And so I would think, because he kept Penny being an android a secret from Ozpin. You know, he didn't ask Ozpin's permission to bring his army into Vale, and you know, it was technically his fault that Cinder managed to Black Queen virus the entire system. So it's like, he doesn't trust anyone and has massive trust issues. So if he somehow found out that his direct subordinate was one of the 4 most powerful beings on the face of the planet, he would probably keep that under wraps, and which is one of the reasons probably why he keeps her so close, and it's probably why he clues her into some of the things that's going on. Because remember in the episode where you know, Winter and Crow fought for the first time in the series that we saw, Crow questions why she was even invited to the meeting, as if, like, you know, like, really, why are you here? There's really no reason why you should be here. Who invited her? And so I asked the same question. Who did invite her? She obviously couldn't have just invited herself. So I'm pretty sure Ironwood let her come in because, you know, she's one of the Maidens and probably needs to be known and kept up on things that's going on. And we haven't seen Winter since Volume 3. We've seen her in that one flashback in Weiss's character short, but we haven't seen her since then. So, that being the case, I think that that Winter is secretly the Winter Maiden, and that at some point that's going to get revealed. Like, Winter might confide in Weiss this information, like, given that Weiss now knows a lot of what's going on, basically everything that's going on. And then, you know, Winter might sit up there and say that, you know, if this keeps up, if something happens to me, you know, just know that you'll be the last person that I'm thinking about, and this power will go to you, and you know, it'll be your responsibility to, you know, protect the world and, you know, uphold the Sneed family name, you know, while I'm gone. And because, you know, Winter specifically said that I'm not always going to be there to protect you, so that was a death flag for me. Now, who would end up killing Winter, I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's going to end up happening in Atlas. Now, I honestly thought that it would have been really, really cool if Adam would have been the one to kill her because, you know, of the Sneed Dust Company brand on his face. Because we've never seen Adam interact with any Sneed characters, so that would have been, you know, a nice touch, but, you know, like I said, don't know if he's dead or not. So, yeah. So let's see. That's what I think is going to end up happening with the Winter Maiden until we get some more information. It's hard to say or not say, you know, what'll end up happening there. But I'm pretty sure that the Winter Maiden right now that isn't Weiss, you know, is going to be a Sneed, and eventually the new Winter Maiden will end up being Weiss. Now, finally, we get to the Summer Maiden. Now, my biggest contention for this is the fact that each maiden we've seen so far has been human, and so it would be kind of messed up and kind of weird if every single one of the maidens were human and not one of them was a faunus. So personally, I think that the last maiden has to be a faunus, and you know, like the summertime is a wild time. You know, faunus are considered to be wild by other people, and you know it's true. Faunus are more ferocious and more animalistic than others, even though they're not technically animals. They have animal-like traits and qualities, so you know you can associate that with that. And really, that's all I've really got about that. We've never really heard much of anything about the Summer Maiden or anything like that, because Tyrion was originally hunting the Spring Maiden, but then, you know, Salem told him to put it on pause to go get Rwby, and we all know how that turned out. And so now, at first, they were going to go and try and get the sword under Vacuo, which can only be accessed by the Summer Maiden, so we're probably going to... that'll be saved for last, you know, rightfully so. And then we're going to get to Atlas first. And so, honestly, I think that Atlas is where Tyrion might end up dying. Watts, maybe. I don't know. Because Tyrion may escape and may end up making it all the way to the end and end up being in Vacuo. Because, you know, there's theory that going around that, you know, in the Great War, originally, that's where the final battleground was. And so, you know, for this final war, that's where the final battleground will be. So, that's all I've really got to say about that. Really, like, it's a simple theory, and really, I don't understand why so many people think that it's not going to happen and think that it's not possible, because really, when you look at, like, what's been set up, only young women can have the power. There's 4 of them. We have 4 girls. There's 4 relics. You know, like, each of the maidens in the story seem to share traits with each of the girls we have right now, and the power was originally owned by Ozpin. Ozpin is with them right now. And I got a feeling that the reason why Ozpin, like, specifically chose these girls or paid special attention to them is because they remind him of the 4 maidens who came to him originally, and those maidens, by extension, reminded him of his children that died when him and Salem had their you know, first big confrontation. So, that all being said, that's all I've really got for this theory. You know, you guys can leave your thoughts in the comments, you know, if you want to add anything, if you want to, you know, try to tell me that I'm wrong, if you want to have a discussion or a debate about it. But, this is my theory and I'm sticking to it. So, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.